just come off the second iteration of the YouTube Conlang Relay, and I wanted to share some thoughts about how you too can run your own Conlang Relay. I didn't invent Conlang Relays. They've been a thing in the Conlang community since the 90s. In fact, I'd only ever participated in one before doing the first YouTube Conlang Relay. Now I've run two of them and participated in a couple more. And I think I've learned a bit about how to handle the process. The basic responsibilities of the Relay Master are pretty simple. Number one, you provide the initial torch. Number two, you make sure everyone finishes their leg. And number three, you compile the final presentation of the relay. Let's take those points one at a time. The most important part of doing the initial torch is your original English text. You need to write something original for this so that the next person won't recognize it and be biased. Your initial torch can be a bit of prose, a poem, a song, basically anything. The key things to remember are you need to keep it short. 6 to 8 sentences or lines of poetry should do the trick. Longer texts will cause problems as people struggle to translate them in time. And try to make it varied. A good amount of vocabulary and different structures will make things more interesting. One thing I would suggest you avoid is making it too weird at the outset. My original text for the 2025 relay described an unknown creature with strange features, but I realized that it would be very difficult for people to tell whether they're actually translating accurately. That doesn't mean you can't be fantastical. You can make a short fairy tale or fable, but keep in mind there's another person translating it after you that's going to change it. And I promise you, even if you produce the most normal, boring text in the world, it will get absolutely wild by the end. On making sure everyone finishes their leg, the most important thing to do is to make the rules and deadlines clear from the outset. You can see here that my spreadsheet has a column with everyone's deadlines right here. Having that clearly marked out helps people to budget their time and avoid procrastinating and overthinking their translation. Along with that, I made it very clear that if the torch was not ready on time, I would have to skip over people. In practice, I did allow some flexibility for a couple people who were almost ready, but just needed to finish up. However, I did end up skipping someone who wasn't able to finish on time, and that's okay. The torch has to keep moving. A torch being late is unfair to the next person in line. So I would say don't grant flexibility unless there's a clear plan to finish within the next day. This was a problem with the first relay, and I fixed it here. I know it may feel harsh if you're just doing this for your friends, but consider, 1, if you're going to get the relay done in a reasonable amount of time, the torch has to move. And 2, it's really not a huge slight to be skipped in the fun relay game, especially if you're not treating it like a media event to boost people's YouTube channels like I am. A final note on keeping the torch moving: you gotta be okay with bugging your friends. A lot of us conlangers might be skittish about that, but it will help everyone if you have a friendly check-in every day with the current torch holder. I found it was very helpful just to ping the current torch holder on Discord once a day to see where they were in the process. It helps remind people to get moving and also gives you info on how long things are taking. Finally, you need to put together the final presentation. This doesn't need to be super fancy. Like, you don't have to have everyone make a YouTube video in a playlist. What am I doing? All you need is to collect everyone's translation and put it in some kind of readable format. I recommend asking people for three things: their initial English translation of the previous torch, or whatever your working language is if y'all are not operating in English, their Conlang text, and finally a flowing retranslation of their Conlang text into English or whatever your working language is. This lets you capture both what they thought they got from the previous person and what changes they made to have the translation fit their own Conlang. That's really fun because mutations don't just come from translation mistakes. They can also come from cultural adaptations, swapping out idioms, or other writing choices that might go into the final translation into the Conlang. Once you have those, just slap them into a PowerPoint or document so everyone can read through and set up a time to get together and laugh about how absurd the story got. Now, as I've said, I've only run a relay twice, but I want to get into a consideration I'm having for the next one. In this relay, I had a total of 23 participants. That's a lot, and we took more than 2 months to complete the relay. In the future, with this many participants, I might seek out a partner and run 2 separate rings. 10 participants is plenty enough to warp a text into something unrecognizable. The reasons I went with just 1 ring are twofold. First, I am one man, and I didn't think to seek out another relay master. The second is that this is a YouTube collab, and I wanted everyone to benefit from the big accounts. If you're doing this with your friends, you don't have that consideration. So really, consider whether you want to limit the participants or split a large group into 2. People do it all the time for relays. The most important thing, though, is to have fun with your friends. You get to set the rules in a way that will make things fun for you. All you need is a few Conlanger friends who are willing to play along. I'm going to link the rules I set for this year's relay in the description. You can also go and watch the playlist for an example of the results of the relay. If you liked this video, please hit the like. And if you like conlanging, subscribe. I do weekly conlanging live streams and a monthly podcast interviewing conlangers, in addition to this annual relay and conlanging tip videos. As always, thanks for watching and happy conlanging. Along with that, I made it very clear that if the torch was not ready on time, and my collar is ridiculous. Okay. That's fine. Take 2 from the top.